I am going to end the loop because we've already gone through it twice, and I think we're just about ready here. So I need to actually, Morgan, are you ready to go? I'm going to pull you into the stream real quick. I think I need to fix my green screen situation here. Hang on a second. Some things are not quite right. We'll see. Oh no, that I don't want to disappear totally.
You're
Okay.
disappearing into the comic. It's immersive.
I really feel like I'm part of the Batman Who Laughs infected storyline. I'm disinfecting myself, I guess. Okay, so I guess we are ready to go for the most part. I just want to double check my settings before we get started here. But I assume, Morgan, you have the Google Doc.
I got the doc.
Oh, I didn't put a subheading in. When we get into the opening credits, I will add something into my subheading.
It's always hard to think of those.
Yeah, we feel like we need to be clever, and usually we are.
But it's sometimes not common, you know.
Well, we are going to be talking about Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen #4, the conclusion.
The stunning conclusion.
So let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot to talk about, and we will be right back.
McGurk! I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom. Because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.
Yes! Welcome to Supergirl Radio Rebirth, your source for Supergirl comics that started with DC Rebirth. My name is Rebecca Johnson.
I'm Morgan Glennon.
And for this episode of the podcast, we are live and wired to review Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen #4, which was written by James Tynion IV with art by Steve Epting and Javier Fernandez. I think maybe it was just Steve Epting, actually. I think for this one, I'm gonna check myself on Javier Fernandez. I think it was just Steve Epting. Nick Filardi was the colorist. Travis Lanham was the letterer. Ricardo Federici did the variant cover. Ben Mears was the assistant editor. Alex Antone was the editor, and Jamie S. was the group editor. So they are the people who have gotten us to the end. We're in the conclusion of the Hell Arisen storyline here. So that is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about issue 4. So we will talk about this issue, which the description for it reads, quote, "This is it." Lex Luthor has gathered a strike force of villains. He's leveled up to the baddest bad guys around. Captain Cold, or Oracle, Solomon Grundy, Black Manta, and Lobo, each and every one a recipient of one of Lex's dark gifts. But the Batman Who Laughs has his own army of infected heroes. 666 of them all. I cannot read this one. 666 of them, all transformed into their worst selves. It's a final showdown between two of DC's most iconic villains, all to curry the favor of Perpetua. Whoever wins will take over the multiverse alongside her. Does Lex ascend, or does he get laid low? Does the Batman Who Laughs finally remake the DC universe in his own image? Either way, life for our heroes will never be the same, unquote. What a description. A very lengthy one.
What a journey. Now, now in this description, and this is something I think rare for me, I was thrown by a line in this description.
Which one?
Even though I've read all of this stuff so far, presumably. It says that the Batman Who Laughs has his own army of infected heroes, 666 of them. What?
I
saw 6 6 of them. I saw 6. We had a Deathbringer, our girl Deathbringer,
our girl Kara.
We had our girl, our guy Sky Tyrant. You know, we had Kara bringing the heat. Like there were like 3 others of them or whatever. Jim Gordon was there in a funky little mask. I don't remember an additional 500.
I think the only other 2 were King Shazam and Scarab, the Blue Beetle evil version.
Yeah. There were max 6. This is like not even a hopping party, you know what I mean? Like you go into this party and you're like, oh, close friends only, right? You're not where are the other 600 of these people?
Not a real rager.
I know. Was this this has to presumably was in some other comic storyline.
We did not read this.
That it was not involved in this one at all. So it's really funny that they brought it in like, yeah, but the Batman, he's got 666, baby. And it's like, this is never, if you read that description, you're like, man, what an insane comics that's going to be. Like so many heroes somebody has to draw. And then you open the page expecting to see just the page swarmed with infected heroes. And you just basically see Lex being like, no one likes me enough. I just feel like the disappointment that you would have pretty high.
I wonder if anyone could ever name 66 characters in the DC universe. Like if there was like a big DC trivia contest and they were like, name how many characters you can name from the DC universe. Do you think somebody would hit that 666 number?
Like somebody would, I feel like. Somebody is out there that would be like, this is my time. This is my moment. Give me like 25 minutes and a paper and pencil, and I'm going to blow you guys away. But I feel like the average DC fan would rattle off a bunch of names and then they'd be like, there's a guy that was like really into calendars. Does he count? You know, like I like as much as there are like random characters in the DC canon, I don't think are there 1,000 DC heroes?
We should try that sometime.
We should look it up.
Not even looking up, just like off the top of our head. See if we can name how many we can name.
And just keep naming off characters. In the chat says 666 plus or minus 665. Yeah, there was listen, they over exaggerated the number of heroes. I like to think that like in a separate comic that we haven't read and we were not editors' notes directed towards, somebody had to be like, and these 666 heroes, and then like there's just like, if you look really far in the background, it's just like squiggles. It's just lines.
Like little tiny heads.
That's Hawkman, but you just can't see him.
I like the idea of someone having to, those splash pages that are two full pages of just heroes.
Yes.
I want someone to have had to draw 666 characters.
I want the art to see like a live view of the artist as they open up their email. And they're like, I can't wait to see what I'm going to do today. I'm so excited. Like maybe a nice, like full page spread of like, Superman looking really cool, or I'm sorry, did you say 666? I don't even think that's going to fit on the page. Just the ones in the background or specks, just like tiny dots. And it's like, if you squint, you can see that Green Lantern.
I think that's why sometimes
it's all the different lanterns. That's the cheat, I guess, right? They're like in the back are just lanterns as far as the eye can see.
They're just making up lanterns.
Just that squirrel, look at him.
Yeah, I think sometimes that's why in some comics we've read where they like sneak ET or Alf in there is because they're just running out of characters.
They're like, is that Donald Duck? No, it's not.
Is that Gonzo?
For IP reasons. Yeah, Gonzo's here. Brian in the chat says George Perez could do it. And
if anyone could have. It would have been him. Yeah.
Also, Mind the Gap says 6-pack, dog welder, and Bueno Excelente are all real DC characters.
Can we just take a few seconds to look up Bueno Excelente?
I feel like I have more questions about dog welder because here's the thing. Is it a dog that welds, or is it like a nefarious hero that only welds
Who's
things
welding
to
dogs?
Like there's one version of that that's charming and one that's messed up, and I don't know which it is.
Okay.
Dog welder.
I'm really actually kind of disappointed with Bueno Excelente. I
Aw.
thought he would be like way more fun. He was a perverted sex offender whose skills earned him a place on the hero team Section 8. His MO was sneaking up behind people to ... serve justice. That sounds gross.
Excuse me?
That's a real link. You can go to dcfandom.com. dc.fandom.com.
Well, that's not what I expected. Okay.
I was expecting like a what are the bands that you find in the Mexican restaurants? The mariachi band.
Yeah,
I was hoping like he would be Bueno.
Or like the wrestlers. Like
yeah,
like the Nacho Libre kind of wrestlers.
I thought he was going to be way more fun, but he is a gross individual.
Okay, well, I have to say,
did you find Dog Welder?
Hard to report on this. I have some bad news about Dog Welder.
Oh no!
I'm just gonna. I feel like to really get the full effect of this, we really just need to show the photo. So it turns out that Dog Welder is not a dog that welds. He is a man welding dogs.
Oh, it's the wrong one.
He was weirdly enough also in Section 8.
Okay. These are all connected.
His history, by the way, is not what I would normally call like a history. It's like more like a fun fact. It's not like here's how Dog Welder came to be. It says this is his history from the DC Fandom Wiki. While the team was on hiatus, Dog Welder spent his time trapping and killing dogs in alleyways. When the team reformed, he helped fight the Mizir's henchmen. Dog Welder was vaporized and killed, hopefully by dogs, when Section 8 fought the many-angled ones. But as you can see, this photo, he's got a welding equipment and he's got a dead dog in his hands.
That is messed up.
Why?
So now that Mind the Gap has mentioned these characters, now I feel like we have to look up Six Pack.
I mean,
I feel like he's part
of
Six
Pack doing? Like Six Pack's got to be doing something bad too.
Yeah, I feel like he's part of Section 8 too. Are we all?
Oh my gosh, there is a there is apparently, I don't know if this is a comic run or something. It as I started to put in Six Pack, it said Six Pack and Dog Welder, hard traveling heroes.
No.
And so I find myself, unfortunately, with more questions than answers. But this was apparently published in 2017. One has to hope there was maybe less dog murder. But no, apparently Dog Welder's whole thing is welding dead dogs to people, which is
apparently Six Pack, as his name seems to indicate, was an ever drunk friend of Tommy Monahan, who I assume was also part of this group, the Section 8. No. Yes, Section 8, I think is the team name.
So this is apparently where they took all of their heroes, like the cast-off heroes, the heroes that no one wants to hear about or know about, and they were just like, go over here to Section 8 and never look at us again. But apparently, I mean, I guess some of these guys got infected as well, because I mean, to get up to that 666 number, we gotta assume. What is infected Dog Welder like?
What if he becomes like a good guy who's like saving dogs?
That would be wild. He's like, I'm unwelding them now. I'm freeing them.
Yeah, I think part of that 666 number, the description for this issue mentions, I think, are Mind the Gap's characters from Section 8. So that's good to know. We had no idea about those characters. Probably didn't want to know about those characters.
I learned some new things almost against my will. And that's kind of what I love about this show and about you all joining us in the comments, is that would I have ever found out about Dog Welder? No. Is this a fun fact I can pull out at parties now? I mean, also, no one wants to know about this. But I know it now.
Now you know. So now you
Now I know.
you could name 3 more characters
Yeah,
in
exactly.
the
It's
DC
like,
pantheon.
I like listen, when this is gonna happen, when we have to rattle them off, I feel like better about my chances now. I'm like, I got Dog Welder, I got Six Pack.
Yeah, you're gonna be like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Dog Welder.
Straight to Dog Welder. The core 3, and then the next most important, Dog Welder.
Okay, well, I'm glad we went down that rabbit hole just for a short time because I feel like we needed to do that. Okay, well, so this issue number 4 of Hell Arisen, part of the year, the villain storyline. This is the issue promises us that this is the conclusion. We have gotten here, Morgan.
The stunning conclusion.
So, did you feel like it wrapped up all the loose ends, answered all your questions? So, how are we feeling after we read this issue?
I did not feel that way. Question. Stanley says in the chat, did this issue tie up the loose ends? Stanley, no, it did not. It just did not. I guess insofar as how did Supergirl get uninfected? I do have an answer for that.
Yes.
That was my primary question coming into the series. I ended up with many more of them as we went along, and none of those were answered. But my primary question, Supergirl starts infected and ends uninfected, that was solved.
Did you think, since we're here, did you think it was a satisfying resolution to her being uninfected?
Not necessarily. It was like it's more like comics, like comic science, where it's very needlessly complicated and you're just like, okay, yeah, like I guess I'm following it. Where I start to ask myself, like, am I not as smart as I think I am? Because why does this seem so hard? And then I think, no, it is the comic that is wrong, not me. But it's he gets in the Batman Who Laughs gets in injected with some sort of like serum or anti-infected thing that Lex comes up with that stops the transfer of his dark matter over to the infected superheroes, like basically just like breaking the chain of infection and uninfecting them all. I found that to be uninspiring as a way to uninfect them, but sure.
Also, why didn't they do this to begin with? If all they had to do was have Lex stab him and then the problem solved, why didn't they just go straight to stab
I guess he had to
the solution.
He had to get like a sample to create that solution, which he got in the last issue, I think, from the Joker's brain.
Oh yeah, when he like did
metaphorical
or literal surgery. We're not real sure, but
he's still up in the air.
But he did something to the Joker to get part of his
when
antidote.
He dove into the Joker's brain using his Martian powers, which is a thing I feel like they mention every now and then, but like when we first established that like Lex is super now because of Perpetua, it's not like they weren't like going out of their way to be like he's part Martian. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden they were just like with his Martian powers just dropping it casually as if it's a thing I should already know. And I was like, did I miss where this was first established? Now, this is very possible because there's a lot of stuff coming at you in these issues.
A lot of editor's notes.
In 4 short issues. I journeyed a lifetime, really. So it's possible I forgot. But every time they would drop the Martian thing, I'd go, oh, right. I guess he's a Martian? That was established at some point. So he uses Martian powers to get into Joker's mind to figure out something, and then he took that and then he created this like serum or anti-infection shot, like a cure, and then he injects it into the Batman Who Laughs. But I was like, oh, but that's just gonna like cure him, but it's like it breaks the chain of the dark matter, like I don't know, it was like vibration or something. And I was like, yeah, all right, okay,
Yeah,
I mean,
we got there, I guess.
I could try to explain this better, but I mean, let's be honest, why?
I think you kind of nailed it though. Even
Close
though
enough.
even though it is somewhat uninspired and sort of anticlimactic and making me wonder why they didn't do it in maybe issue 1. That would have been great. But at least they explained it so that now I understand how that happens. So I guess I'm grateful for that. I do want to mention, since we did bring up the the fact that Lex has Martian Manhunter powers, there is a section in this issue where that becomes important because the Batman Who Laughs corners Lex with fire, created, I think, by Supergirl's heat vision.
Yeah, with Supergirl.
Since Lex has Martian physiology now, I think the way the comic is doing it and how I interpreted what was happening was that Lex had Martian Manhunter's weakness to fire. So that did become important in this issue. Morgan, was there anything in particular that you wanted to mention about this one, in addition to the fact that we do have some knowledge of how Supergirl becomes uninfected?
I might need you to vamp for just a quick
Oh
second.
no!
There's
is there a
cat
lab
situation
Okay,
happening?
I did hear.
There's been some yowls,
Yes.
more than I would like there to be. So I'm just going to quickly check on it.
Okay, we're just going to take a real quick break. Well, I can hang out here with the chat until Morgan returns after the resolution between the Beaker and Bunsen situation. I did hear some cat screaming, so we'll have to see what she reports when we come back for the conclusion of our discussion. So it looks like Morgan is back. Morgan, is everything okay?
They're fine.
Okay, good.
We're just getting in a fight. Now, I thought somebody was like desperately wounded. But when I finally found them, they were just staring at each other, screaming. So,
okay.
I don't, Bunsen, you don't even look at him. I don't know who the aggressor was, but Bunsen's closer, so I'm just assuming it's him right now.
Really? But Bunsen's the aggressor. Okay.
Sometimes he is. Sometimes it's hard to tell because Beaker always screams whether or not he is the aggressor. Doesn't make a lot of sense. He's always just screaming. So he's always trying to get Bunsen in trouble. So I'll come over, I'll be like, Bunsen, don't you hear Beaker screaming? And then I'll turn around and then I'll look out of the corner of my eye and I'll watch Beaker as he's screaming, just slap Bunsen in the face. He's not trustworthy.
Yeah, Stanley says Bunsen is also frustrated by this storyline.
Bunsen hates it.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. I guess before we were interrupted, did I ask you if there was anything in particular you wanted to discuss about this issue?
I was, I guess, okay. I felt like I was missing a backstory about Lex being Superman adjacent. Like he's wearing the Superman crest.
He joined the Justice League.
He joined the Justice League. And I didn't get an editor's note about that guy. So I was like, okay, when did this happen? And I felt like I wanted to do a deep dive on it, but I didn't. So there was one, I did have one editor's note. It was about the beautiful city of Lexor.
Yes. Which is a thing that exists in DC Comics prior to this. Lexor has been, if I remember correctly, like a planet where Lex is like kind of the king man. Like he's the ruler of the planet.
Because it says to see Lexor and its apocalyptic demise, check out Justice League the totality. I think it is funny that Lex is like, in the future, everything is great. The people, they're empowered. They love me. That's a coincidence. Don't focus on that. Don't focus on how it's a sort of a Lex-centered society. Everyone's bald. It's a John Malkovich sort of situation. Everybody is doing the best that they possibly can. And then you're like, the editor's note is like, it explodes. Did he like nope out before the end of the lesson he was supposed to learn or something? Be like if Scrooge like noped out of there about halfway through in A Christmas Story and like never learned he was supposed to be a better person.
What was the issue? Let's see if we can look it up.
It is Justice League: The Totality.
Okay, let me see if I can find a description for it. Let's see. Okay, this is connected to James Tynion IV, who wrote this series of issues that we've been reading. I was going to see if we could find like a really quick recap, but it looks like there is the Totality seems to be a collected edition, like a trade.
Not another trade.
So you would have to go through a whole other thing to find out what happens in the Totality. Yeah, it was had a cover date, Justice League #1, if you were going to read that. This would have been like August 2018. Summer of 2018.
I see Kenny in the chat says Lex Luthor was super after the end of the New 52 and the first part of Action Comics Rebirth before Bendis took over the books.
That was my guess, Kenny, that it was the New 52. I sort of remember that suit that is in this issue with the sort of the Lexo suit with the S shield. So I think we're on the same page because I kind of remember that from the New 52.
Yeah, so I was a little confused with that. I was like, he's talking about, I was even in the Justice League. And I was like, boy, when? So good to know. I mean, I guess I didn't technically need like the backstory. Just like I was in the Justice League with him in the suit. You're like, yeah, I mean, I guess he was. I feel like he's a trustworthy source. So, I mean, would he lie?
Mercy also said that Lex was the smartest person on the planet, that he ran one of the biggest companies that ever existed, and that he was the most human person she'd ever met in all the most horrible, infuriating, incredible ways. So Mercy has a lot of respect for him and recognizes him as a hero. At one time, at least, was a hero who joined the Justice League and helped save the world. So yeah, that does happen. We don't see much of that in this issue, but it was a thing that existed at one point.
It was kind of interesting to get little hints of other storylines that like clearly had come to pass, where it's like, oh, okay, well now I know that Lex was in the Justice League at some point in time, and also that he at some point saw a Lex-based society and was like, chill. I can't go wrong because in the future I am king. And I was like, okay, sure. That seems like a very Lex Luthor thing to think.
Yeah, the people of Lexor worshipped him, I think is the word they use in the issue. And I was kind of interested in this section of the issue because it's basically Lex Luthor having a vision of some kind. I wrote in my notes, when Lex felt like a failure, he had defeated the crime syndicate, but they ended up coming back by a, quote, cosmic realignment he was too small to perceive, unquote. Lex saw a vision of the end of time when humanity had risen and killed all of the gods in his name. So that's really intense. Lex Luthor says in the future, gods will bow to man. So it's really interesting because I guess in some ways I like them playing with this idea because Lex Luthor sees himself as the pinnacle of humanity. You know, that's part of the reason why in a lot of Superman stories, he dislikes Superman, because Superman is able to achieve more than humanity, more than just Lex Luthor as a human could achieve. Is everything okay?
Yes, this time everything is okay.
I saw you looking up and I was like, oh no, what are the cats doing?
Cats flying through the air.
So Lex Luthor, I think, hates the idea of a being that could be higher than humanity. But here, his vision of the world is that humanity rises up and becomes greater than the gods. So I guess in some ways that sort of aligns with his vision of humanity. But then he also went to Perpetua, and Perpetua made him more than human. So it's sort of conflicting with the Lex Luthor ideology that he normally espouses. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they kind of underline that where it's like, well, you're all about, humanity and humanity like you said being better than these like superpowered figures. Uh but then in your utopian society, it sounds like not that like everybody is human and they have become better than the superheroes, but they've all kind of become like the vibe was that they all had powers of some kind and have become like more than human, in which case they're not quite human anymore, are they?
Right. Yeah.
Very strange.
They're
Like
something else.
it's like Lex, I feel like you're kind of missing the point. You're kind of running past the point now. Even Mercy was like, "Really, Lex? We're doing a lot today."
I feel like it's cheating a little bit to make humanity better than the quote gods if you give them powers. It's a little bit cheating there. Um, so I guess we did get a little bit of a showdown between Lex Luthor and the Batman Who Laughs. It really does become this issue very much about the two of them. Morgan, did you have any thoughts about the way things played out with the Batman Who Laughs?
I really like the sort of the interplay between like who's got the upper hand, and it goes back and forth the whole issue where you think Lex has got one over on him, and then you think that he's got one over on Lex, and then Lex comes back into the fore, and then ultimately, spoiler alert, the Batman Who Laughs basically wins. I mean, he still has to talk to Perpetua, and he could get stuffed in that chair at any time. We've well established. I was excited to see the chair, and to know that people were in there was a little disturbing.
The poor people who had literally gotten made to be part of Lady Perpetua's throne. Like it's exactly what you think it means. Like
they're in there. They're just stuffed in there.
They're literally in her big throne. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that Lex he finally gets the Batman Who Laughs. He stabs him with the antidote kind of thing to make sure everybody is uninfected. And then he takes Lady Perpetua. He thinks he's very victorious in this. It takes him to Perpetua to be like, here, I have found this guy that you wanted me to find. And then it sort of sounded like, I don't know if the Batman Who Laughs, and check me on this, Morgan, in case I misread this, but it sort of sounded like maybe there was like a double cross or a triple cross where like the Lady Perpetua had also sort of made a deal with the Batman Who Laughs to bring Lex in, or was the Batman Who Laughs like negotiating with her?
I was confused about this too because I know the panel, so I pulled up the panel you were talking about, and the Batman Who Laughs says, I know you, Perpetua. I heard your whispers. I heard all you promised. Barbados? Like, I don't know if that's a different character to draw him into the light. I delivered you Luthor, he says, by telling him what he was after. I gave him your name and the means to unlock your incredible power. So, I mean, did that happen? Was that in another comic book? Because we do start into this run very suddenly with like Lex already have working with Perpetua.
Right.
So I don't know if this happened in a different run that we weren't privy to. And this is just sort of like the stunning conclusion, but it happened in maybe like a Justice League book or a different book. But yeah, I did kind of get the impression that he had some sort of arrangement with Perpetua
Like
where
a
he was like
backdoor deal with Perpetua.
Yeah, or maybe even he was just like, I have been working to get you free by like pulling these strings, and like now it's time for you to show me some appreciation kind of thing. To which case I would say, I mean, you might want to like a more formal deal in place with the lady who stuffs her chair full of villains.
And I guess we can talk about the end from this point because it sort of flows from this situation with the Batman Who Laughs, is that he seems to, again, I could have misread this whole thing, but it seems like he has overtaken Perpetua by the end of it. Like the big cliffhanger is that he's somehow controlling Perpetua or he infects her in some ways. So Did Lex's syringe thing that he stabbed him with, did that not work? It uninfected everyone else, but it didn't take away the Batman Who Laughs ability to infect other people?
That's a great question. I don't actually know. So at the end of the issue, he is like talking to Perpetua, and he's talking about I guess he's talking about the Earth. This Earth is not going to survive whatever she's got planned. It looks like they're working together, maybe?
He tells her, "Look into my mind, see what I have in store for them." And her eyes turn red and she starts to laugh. She starts to ha 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 ha. And so I don't know.
Ooh. Oh, interesting. I didn't even pick this up. Yeah. That's a good question. Is she now infected with the Batman Who Laughs like infection that makes everybody laugh like creeps and makes them into Kiss? I don't know.
So I have two questions about this, even though we're never going to find out what happens because we're going to go right back into Rebirth. We're going to go right back into the Supergirl title.
Goodbye, guys.
we are jumping out of
We
the
are
story.
not following you into death metal where it is to be continued in.
I suppose if you're watching this or listening to it and you would like to pursue,
you can
this
follow
story,
them. You can follow them.
Go for it.
The real stunning conclusion, the stunninger conclusion is apparently in death metal. And that's just not for me to know. It's not for me to know how it ends, I guess. It's fine. Yeah, I assume the world survived.
We just have to get back to Supergirl.
We gotta
get to some other stuff.
She wasn't in this one much. So we got to get back to where she's in it a lot.
So I guess my question would be, what is it like if Lady Perpetua is infected by this the Batman Who Laughs serum or whatever it is? That seems like real bad news.
I mean, how would you even tell with her makeup going on?
And then I guess my second question is, does she get like a death metal name?
Oh yeah,
Lady Perpetua is kind of already there. I feel like
was already a good one. What if, like, much like Kara, it's just really lame. But like, what if they make like Lady Perpetua's name like less cool? So like her metal name is just like, and this is you might know her as Lady Perpetua, but now you know her as Petunia, and she's
formerly Lady Perpetua.
Formerly Lady Perpetua. It's like it says it underneath it, like formerly Lady Perpetua, and she just comes out and she's like, "It's me, quake in fear, Petunia." I was like, okay. I mean, your other one was actually a little scarier, honestly.
I feel like it should go the other way though.
Yes.
If the heroes get infected and they have like the death metal names, I feel like the villains should have like less cool names when they're infected.
Like more like down to earth, everyday names,
like wholesome
names.
So that's my question about Lady Perpetua. I'm never gonna know. Maybe I'll do a Wikipedia deep dive.
It's
later.
like and here she comes, Lady Sweetie Pea. And she's like, "It's just me." And she's like really, really nice. She hands you like a Starbucks order. It's the exact thing that you always order. She's like, "I pay attention."
She really listens to people. She cares about them.
Like before we go destroying the earth, do you want to talk about how you feel about it? Friendship circle?
So we may never know what happens to Lady Perpetua at the end of this issue, but it also sounds like Perpetua makes Lex purely human and mortal again, and I think she does this to punish him, so he no longer has his Martian powers or any of the other superpowers that she had given him. So I think that's kind of where we land with this storyline and these characters, mostly about Lex and the Batman Who Laughs in this one, with a little Lady Petunia in this one for good measure. But Morgan, did you have any other thoughts before we wrap up our discussion of the story, and then we can start kind of talking about maybe some of the art?
I think it's brutal when she made Lex Luthor human to also make him naked, so that like when he
Well,
when he had
she
to go
was trying-
attack him, he's like, I'll do this myself. I'm like, dude, you're up to her ankle bone. I don't think you're gonna do much. But then she's just like, bye, and like just throws him out. And then he's just landing all together, showing off all of his Lexi bits to poor Mercy. And I'm just like, listen, the guy's having kind of a bad day. Like, I think you could give him like a nice pair of boxers on his way out, just as like a little treat.
I think there's a visual metaphor in there that when she does that, she strips him of all his clothes, all his powers, and he's just the human man again. So that he's this mortal figure, and it's just who he is. If I was going to really read into that, that's how I would interpret it. But I kind of like your interpretation a little bit.
I think that your interpretation is more narrative, makes more sense with the character, and I think mine is just like, man, that's embarrassing. Give Lex a little bit of a break. I know he hasn't been great in this issue, but like he's real sad at the end, so I do feel for him.
Especially because he did have like a cool suit. He had that green and
cool
purple suit.
Probably
I guess
took
it
a
was
long
like
time to make.
yeah, it was kind of like a Lexo suit, but like a tank top version.
It's a Lexo suit, but like the one that you go work out in.
Yeah,
and you're showing off your guns.
Yeah, it was him going to the gun show for this one. But yeah, so I think that is a nice way to visually show that he has been returned back to his mortal human self again. If I was going to really dig into what that represented, I would say that. Morgan, did you have any favorite panels or pages in the art in this one?
I did want to bring up one other thing, which I almost forgot.
Okay,
which is a Supergirl thing, which is that when they all get uninfected, Supergirl is immediately like, I know this is somebody's fault. Grab the Batman Who Laughs and Luthor. And Mercy's like, whoa, you guys. Hasn't Lex Luthor done enough to earn your trust? And I'm like, Mercy, girl, look at me. He did do a lot of this stuff. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's really unfair that you would think that Lex was involved in this. It's like, he is involved. He's clearly very involved in this. And I thought it was funny that they had, like, because of Lex's backstory with obviously Lex and Superman are usually battling, that they would have Supergirl be the hero character to like kind of pop off, and for Mercy and Lex to kind of like get mad at, like, see, this is what I'm talking about. No matter what I do, they always don't trust me. It's like, sir, you were the one who went to Lady Perpetua to make Lexor the world that you, Lex Luthor. I think that they're kind of valid here.
I think you are doing things that are maybe not great. Since you brought up the Supergirl connection to that moment, also in this story, there's a panel where Supergirl's flying. She's uninfected now, looking great. Still has on like the death metal Supergirl suit. But she definitely doesn't have the crazy fingernails or like the kiss makeup. And she says, you got inside my head and you made me do horrible things. And I was thinking back to the conversation we had one time with these issues where Supergirl was like, she was like, I'm evil, but I'm going to still get you out of a burning building. So she wasn't like doing really horrible things. She was still kind of being Supergirl.
Supergirl was horrible in the way that like people that you went to high school with that try to actively recruit you into an MLM are horrible. It's like, if you just sell these leggings, like, girl, I don't want to. I'm not interested. But I wouldn't say that that's like a horrible thing. Like, on the list of things, there's like much worse things you could be doing. It's more annoying. She was more annoying the town, being like, it's so great to be infected, you guys. Don't you want to be infected? If you start on the bottom and then you work on your downstream, you could really be making the big bucks. It's like, Supergirl, I'm so sorry, but I don't think that these little like storage containers are really gonna like make you $1 million. She's like, but that's not the growth mindset.
She did scare scare some children in a library, I think.
She
at one point.
did, but
But
I
that
mean,
was like the worst thing she did. I didn't feel
I
like
mean, a
she-
lot of things scare kids.
Yeah.
Loud noises, clowns.
So yeah, I think maybe Supergirl's reaction was a tad over the top.
I thought so.
Al-
I was like, "Come on, girl, what you do? You didn't do
Although I
anything."
will say she was infected and she did not have full control of who she was and what she was doing. I don't think. Although you could make the argument that she still did good things, and so there was still part of Kara in there, and she didn't go fully like death metal because she didn't have a death metal name. So
She didn't even get a cool name.
she didn't even get a cool like death metal rock name. So I don't know that Supergirl maybe.
I think if they wanted to give that line to somebody, maybe it shouldn't have been Supergirl, like kind of the least infected of all of them.
Maybe like Commissioner Gordon could have.
Commissioner Gordon
he
seemed
had
like
a real time.
he was out there doing stuff, you know? He
Yeah.
was doing it. He was like, he was like, uh-oh. Is he like, I like when he comes out of it, he's like, what's with the outfit? And I feel like he was like, hope this hasn't unlocked something in me. Puts the mask in his pocket for later.
So I guess maybe because the relationship between Lex Luthor and the Supers, or that the super family is always kind of coming down on Lex for being a monster and for being evil, because usually he is. So maybe that's why they had Supergirl say it. But yeah, there's some nuance there in that Lex did save them from the infection, but he also did kind of make deals with Lady Perpetua that I think you could argue caused a lot of this situation. So yeah, it's a nuanced situation there.
Yeah, he like saved them, but it's not like he was planning to save them like for themselves. He was saving them so that his plan could go through. It's like, I mean, his plan is essentially to get rid of them eventually. Like, just you're saving me today to kill me tomorrow. I don't have to say thank you.
Yeah. All right. So if you don't have anything else, can we move on
I wanted to bring
one more? Okay.
one more
Yes.
comment from the chat, since we are not planning to continue on in our journey with these with the Hell Arisen thing. Mind the Gap says, I think Wonder Woman saves the day. I don't think Supergirl plays a big role in death metal.
It seems like she got out of the story and then went right back into her title.
She's like, I'm going home. Bye, guys.
I'm uninfected now. Bye-bye. I don't need to be here anymore. So yeah, that's good to know how that wraps up. Might do a little deep dive into that just to see what happens, but that's good to know. Thank you for that. Did you have any favorite panels or pages in this one?
I like the panel when Supergirl first gets uninfected. And there's like a light behind her. She just looks really nice.
Really pretty.
I was like, the costume actually, without the makeup, honestly, I don't hate the costume. Yes, okay, it's a little Hot Topic Sierra 2000s, but
it is a little spiky. Yeah.
a little too spiky. Like, you take the spikes off and the cold shoulders and kind of like asymmetrical skirt, and I don't hate it. I was like, you know what? It's kind of it's giving a little derelict from the movie Zoolander, and I don't hate it.
It doesn't look that bad.
It doesn't look that bad. I was surprised. I was like, okay, sure. I don't hate this. And then my other favorite panel is
whoops.
when
I was trying to find. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was trying to find the Supergirl suit.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that this is looking good in this panel. I think he's looking nice. I was like,
It
oh,
looks good.
you know what? I've been kind of ragging on the suit, but like, I don't mind that. Like, I could see a good cosplay version of that being.
Oh
very
yeah. Yeah, I think someone should do that if they haven't.
Just don't do the face makeup. It's weird. I didn't love the face makeup, but just the costume, not bad. And then my other favorite panel is when the Batman Who Laughs and Lex Luthor are fighting, and Lex Luthor's like, this gun is made specifically with kryptonite bullets, and then there's just a panel of the Batman Who Laughs going, Well, it's just a full frowny face. He's going, huh. And it's it's like a weird moment of comedy in the middle of this fight where he's like, wah, wah, almost. And I was just like, okay, I like that. I don't know. It's like totally it doesn't make a ton of sense with what's going on, but I like that we had like a little moment of like a little joke in the middle of this like serious fight.
Well, and I think that makes sense with the Batman who laughs, who is sort of Joker-esque. I think that to me that's fitting there. So that makes sense to me. For me, I guess I really like my eye is drawn to the panels and pages where it is Lex and the Batman who laughs fighting, where it's like all like, these are basically two villains fighting. So there's like this metaphor of hell with all these flames and the warm colors and temperatures, and it's right before Lex stabs him with the serum or the antidote, whatever you want to call it. So I really like those. I feel like those really caught my eye when I was flipping through the pages and reading them. I also really like towards the end when I think my interpretation is that Lady Perpetua is somehow taken over or infected by the Batman who laughs. There's like a panel of a close-up of her lips and she's saying ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
And then below it you see, I don't know if that's the moon with the ha 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 around it, and then the godhead or whatever that place is that Lady Perpetua lives maybe. And then there's also an outline of her lips. So I thought that was interesting. I've been like contemplating what I think that means, those two panels. I don't know if I don't know. I don't know exactly what that means, but there's like a remnant of her lips on that panel. So I thought that was kind of an interesting visual, even though I don't quite understand what it means or how to interpret it.
I thought it was really nice and like it's very interestingly done. I was also confused about what it meant. I was like, okay. There's even like a circle around her lips, like a little orange circle.
Yeah.
And then presumably it's like a little sort of sketchy outline of her lips on the over top of the planet. And I was like, what am I supposed to? That's cool. Why?
Is this kind of like the Lex getting into the Joker's brain? Like, is it more of a
maybe
spiritual sort of otherworldly type thing that's happening there? I'm not quite sure, but I do think the visual is really interesting, even though I don't totally know what it means.
Now I do wonder if Perpetua is infected. I'm glad that you mentioned this because this did not occur to me. Because this all happens right after the Joker or the Batman who laughs tells her, like, look into my brain, like look into my mind and see what my plans are. So like maybe when she went into his mind, she got infected because like right after that, her eyes before in all the panels are just
white,
fully white.
Yeah.
And then in the last panel, her eyes are like beady red, which the red lettering has been sort of a standard for the Batman who laughs.
Right.
I'm like, am I supposed to be so now I'm like, oh, maybe I am supposed to be taking from this and then she's laughing that she's infected now too.
So maybe the lip thing is just more of a visual of her being taken over by the Batman who laughs, like showing the infection. Because I don't think her lips change color or anything like that. I think it's kind of the way her mouth is, but I don't know. I just thought that visual was striking, even though I don't totally know how to interpret it, but I guess it's supposed to emphasize the fact that she is being taken over by the Batman who laughs.
Before we wrap up, I think Stanley has a great question.
Yes, this would be a great way for us to end this discussion.
Stanley wants to know, was it all worth it reading these side issues?
Worth it to answer the question of how does Supergirl get uninfected? I guess we do know that because we didn't know it before.
We didn't before.
But I think that could have been solved in one
I
issue.
think like, yeah, I think the infection part of it felt really like an afterthought in this storyline, where it didn't feel like it was really focused that much on the heroes being infected as like a big plot point. It was more like the heroes being infected was important because Lex needed to be able to beat the Batman Who Laughs, not because like anybody was specifically being like, we gotta save the heroes. So it felt like it was sort of like at the end of it, them getting uninfected was like, oh, also they're uninfected. It didn't feel like a triumphant moment in this like side story. So I don't know. That's a great question. Was it worth it? Did we now know the answer to the question we wanted to know? But I guess I could have probably looked up a 1-paragraph description and gotten sort of the same vibe.
So my side question to that question is, do you think this could have been answered in the Supergirl title? Could we have gotten some sort of like 1-page recap or some
Quick
sort of
flashback?
Yeah, something like that could then, because for a long time I think our frustration with the Supergirl title had been before this would be like, it's the same issue over and over again.
Yeah.
Infected Supergirl is doing this thing again. She's doing something bad, but then
She's
like we
scaring
think
school children, but not that much.
but we think like maybe she's close to like coming out of this, but then she would do it. Something else would happen. She'd fight Wonder Woman, and it would be this thing. Like it just was a repeated storyline over and over and over again in these issues. And I feel like they could have had 1, maybe 2 issues of infected Supergirl, and then introduce this. Oh, by the way, Lex stabbed the Batman Who Laughs in the neck with this thing, and now she's uninfected. Do you think like it could have worked in the Supergirl title that we just put that in there and we wouldn't have had to go through all this?
I feel like technically it could have worked, but the explanation for how Lex uninfected them was so complicated with the superhero science that it might have been too dense to try to shove into like a panel or two. Like, well, when Lex working with Lady Perpetua like went into the blah, 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 and then he made an antidote which stopped the dark matter energy going from the Batman Who Laughs to the other infected, which pretty much immediately uninfected them. And then you're just like,
I don't know. I think you did it in a couple of sentences.
You know what? You might be right. They probably could have done it. Listen, if that was off the cuff, you see, I'm available. I'm available to distill down into 2 sentences things that make my brain explode.
I don't know. I would have wanted to see a version where they did that in the Supergirl title, where they just gave a quick recap of what happened and then just moved on.
I'm not saying that it wasn't fun to go down this avenue and see some crazy stuff happening with the villains, but also, I mean, we didn't have to.
We did get to see Monsieur Milan the Brain.
That was nice. I always like to check in with friends.
So that was fun. And we did get to see Lady Perpetua. Didn't really have a lot of experience with her before. So that's good to know. So I think it was also interesting to kind of touch some of the wider DC storyline that was going on at the time. Because I'd always heard of the death metal stuff, but I had never read any of it. So I guess it was worth it just to kind of have that experience. But I wish they could have done this in the Supergirl title instead of us having to go outside of it.
Yeah, instead of an editor's note, they could have just done like a quick block of text that's like, previously on. And then quickly got us up to speed. And then I wouldn't have felt like I missed something like fundamental to the story where I'd have to go see. I guess from a marketing perspective, from a synergy perspective, they did get me to buy this thing.
That's true.
Now it was $2.99. So
I don't think
they're getting a lot of people to buy this thing.
But they got it. But they got us in 2025.
But they got us. They got more of my hard-earned dollars. So I guess bravo.
Yeah, comics do live and die off of the crossover potential. Mind the Gap in the chat says DC was planning on making Kara a fascist post death metal. So much of DC changed between COVID and Dan DiDio leaving. Those plans never happened. Dan DiDio leaving and those plans never happened. So I have to wonder if anyone cared that much. Interesting. I guess you could have made the Kara who laughs. She could have maybe been a fascist. I could have seen that.
Yeah.
Although she wouldn't have been a great one though.
No, she wouldn't have been. She's like, all right, I'm telling you guys what's up. I'm sorry, that's not going to work for you today. Should we reschedule for tomorrow?
Is it because your cat is stuck in a tree? Let me go.
I can get the cat out. I'll just get the cat real quick, and then we're doing my way or the lunch break after that. I mean, we are all a little hungry, so I'll get the cat, I'll get the lunch, a sandwich platter for everybody. What kind of, we got vegetarians here?
And then I will carry out my evil fascist plan.
My evil plan. Yeah, I would actually like to see like a version. I feel like there's like a comedy version of this I would have enjoyed more, where it's just like Supergirl's evil, but she didn't get evil enough, so she keeps on she's like, my evil plan. Okay, fine. Oh, fine. I'll go help you, but then afterwards,
but she's actually like a really good friend, and like.
She's doing
helping out the community,
doing like projects. She's like started a community garden. But she's convinced herself in her mind that this is all leading to her evil plan where she takes over. And she's like, first you got to get the trust of the people, right? Right? You got to get the trust of the people. And then you can just take over real easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build another little free library.
Yeah, we should write that story. I think
that would be so good.
Amazing. It's really something not it hasn't been explored yet. So I think, someone should do it.
They've come up with a lot of characters, clearly. And if they could do Dog Welder, I think they could do our idea.
The crazy thing about Dog Welder is it's exactly what you think it is.
It seems like it couldn't possibly be what you think it is, but it is. And that's the beauty of Dog Welder. Learn something new every day.
Okay, well, I guess we have successfully gotten through the Year of the Villain Hell Arisen 4 issue series, which means we can hop out of it and get back to the Supergirl title and finish out the rebirth era of the character before we get into some other things that we're going to tackle in the future. So congrats to everybody. Congrats, Morgan. We made it. We got in there. We figured out how infected Supergirl becomes uninfected, which was the mission of the side quest. So I'm glad that we have achieved it. I guess that's maybe going to take us out of this episode of Supergirl Radio. Our discussion has ended. And if you would like to contact us, you can post a comment on our website at supergirlradio.com. You can email us at supergirlradio@gmail.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X and Instagram, all at Supergirl Radio. If you like what we do, we encourage you to give us a rating and write us a review on Apple Podcasts and anywhere you listen to podcasts. Supergirl Radio is part of the DCTV Podcast and Multiverse of Color Network, so go check those out when you get a chance. And if you want to, you can hang out with us as we go live and wired on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. We also stream to Facebook. So I think our last week's episode did not stream to Facebook for some reason. So I had to make sure that it was streaming on Facebook. So it's usually there. But you can always catch us on the DCTV Podcast YouTube channel. So make sure you are subscribed. DCTV Podcast also has a TeePublic store. So if you're in need of new DCTV related t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, magnets, tote bags, pins, phone cases, pillows, or stickers, go to supergirlradio.com and click on the TeePublic store link at the top of the page.
And since we have made it through the infected Supergirl storyline, we did it, everybody. Mission accomplished. We have some Batman and Joker designs in the DCTV Podcast TeePublic store that we would love to suggest.
Yeah, so we had talked about some Batman who laughs, and then the Joker who played a big part in issue number 3, but is also kind of the play on the Man Who Laughs, who was the movie that the Joker is somewhat based on. So we wanted to make that available to people. So if you need any more or need any additional Batman or Joker designs, we have those in the TeePublic store for you to enjoy. And we would like to thank our Legion of Super Sponsors for supporting the Supergirl Radio Patreon. These people are Michael, Anne Marie, Yvonne, Nicola, Abby, Miriam, Nicole, Brian, Ethan, Majuba, Annie, Rachel, and Kit. If you would also like to become a Legion of Super Sponsor, go to patreon.com/Supergirl Radio. And we've got some exciting stuff coming up for the Patreon. We are going to be doing, we're going to be tackling, since we have been discussing the Batman Who Laughs and Joker as of late on the main Supergirl Radio episodes, we are going to be reviewing the Todd Phillips Joker movie. And then after we finish with that, a little folie à deux. Because we like saying the name. So we are going to be reviewing that as well, so that we can really get into all of the Joker cinematic universe, starring Joaquin Phoenix and then Lady Gaga when we get to the sequel. I don't think, Morgan, you had seen Joker before.
I had not seen Joker before.
I had seen Joker many, many times because I think it's a great film. So I'm looking forward to discussing it with you. And I have not seen Folie à Deux, so I can't wait to get to that.
So we'll both be going into Folie à Deux blind.
So that is good to know. So we'll be doing some Joker stuff on the Supergirl Radio Patreon. If you enjoy our reviews here, we do a little bit of a movie review over there on the Patreon. So definitely go and check that out if you would like to see what we talk about. Well, let's see. If you want to follow me on the interwebs, you can follow me on a platform called Vero True Social. I'm over there at Derby Kid. I share some pictures that I take and what I'm watching and what I'm listening to. Recently got back into Kelly Clarkson because I found out she was going to be in Las Vegas this summer. So I'm rediscovering some Kelly Clarkson. So I'm very excited about that. She sings the soundtrack of my life. So I really love me some Kelly Clarkson. So if you're over on Vero, you would see that I am interested in that. You can follow me on Instagram at the Derby Kid, where I share the occasional picture over there as well. I have a personal YouTube channel at youtube.com/DuckMilkProd. I also do a travel blog with my brother at Oasis Broom on the social media. So if there's any thing in there that you want to check me out doing, you can check me out on all of those platforms and locations.
Nice. And you can find me various places on the internet at Mojotastic. You can also find me co-hosting the Legendary Ladies podcast, where recently we just talked to author Fiona Fenn about her new novel, The Crack at the Heart of Everything, including some hints about her second novel that she's working on, the book 2. And also it looks like she talked in our interview about maybe getting an audiobook, and it looks like that is going ahead. So that's exciting. And I'm not sure what our next episode, our next episode is TBD. So if that's a big thing that you're interested in, surprises, you should make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast, because then it can be a surprise for you too when it pops up.
So when you say TBD, that's not like a movie.
No,
like a
it's
movie
to
titled.
be determined.
Okay, I didn't know if there was like a movie called TBD, or if like you had just not figured it out yet.
You know, all my TBD heads out there.
I think that would be a great movie title, or like a TV show, TBD.
It would be very hard to Google, but it would be a fun title.
I wonder what a TV show called TBD would be about. Would it be about somebody who sees the future in some capacity, or I don't know.
I've got a pitch for TBD. The pitch is that every episode, the show is fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Because it's always to be determined. So it's like every episode is kind of like a new pilot for a new show, and you get to the end and you're like, that's great. And then the next episode is like you start out and it's a Western and you're like, whoa, I can't wait to see them free that village. And then in the next episode, it's like a medical drama and you're like, what? Wait, what happened in the Western? And then the one after that is like a romantic comedy and you're like, what is this show?
Okay,
well, it's to be determined.
I'm going to yes and this.
Yes and.
So every episode is different. It is to be determined what happens. At some point, I feel like those different scenarios need to combine.
Start to combine.
Yeah, I think they should mesh somehow.
Like the Western, they go into a saloon and it's the operating room suddenly of the hospital, and they're like, wait, what?
Like you never get an answer because it's TBD.
It's the TBD cinematic universe, and that every episode is the same. Stanley says it could also be a sitcom about nothing, like Seinfeld. It's TBD. It's to be determined what it's going to be about. Maybe nothing at all. Listen, we've got a lot of good pitches. If like a network wants to pick it up.
Yeah, I wonder also if TBD could be like every episode them figuring out what the show should be.
Yeah,
So nobody knows.
We determined it. I think we got it this time, and then like the next time you're like, no, we didn't.
I like this idea. We have so many good ideas here on the podcast.
Call us. I see music lover KB in the chat says strike a deal with Netflix. I feel like we need to give our first option to Max since we're such good friends.
We are big proponents of Max.
Big fans of Max.
I think Max would like this actually.
I think it fits
right in
perfectly on the platform.
Yeah. We could incorporate the discovery elements of things. Like one episode could be like a reality TV show, or it could be like a nature show.
It could be anything. There's so many genres.
So we can fit in with the brand over there.
We got this.
Well, that is a good idea. I would watch that show.
I would too. I would want to know every week what's it going to be this week.
Well, I think this is going to do it for this episode of Supergirl Radio. But until next time, I'm still Rebecca Johnson.
And I'm still Morgan Glennon. And we look forward to reading more Supergirl comics.
McGurk, I love typing.
Not mess with my Google Docs, Meeksy.
Supergirl Radio is going live every night of the week. How do you like it? Is becoming a human burrito a plus or a minus? I don't know. It does seem snug.
I mean, they say you are what you eat.
Kira. I love that.
So I do a podcast called Supergirl Radio, and one of our segments is Lena Luthor, Boardroom or Ballroom, because
she looks like a boss in this coat.
Nasty Luthor like a different Luthor? It's not just Lena being mean?
No.
Helen Slater here. So fun to know that you're hosting a podcast called Supergirl Radio.